Welcome friends to another r/prorevenge video. The true professionals have already hit the like and subscribe buttons down below. The next best pros can still do it right now. That said, our first story of the day is by UEG96. Bash finger in a locker and don't apologize? Enjoy being stuck in class? So back in high school there was a girl, we'll call her J, who was very popular and got away with a lot of BS. Her locker was close to mine, and when she got angry because of something a friend told her, she slammed my locker door and it bashed into my finger, which resulted in a bruised nail. She never apologized, just looked at it and said, "That sucks, be more careful." Of course, none of the faculty bothered to do anything about it, and none of the students gave her crap for it because she's popular. So one day, we're in Spanish class and the students had to go see the guidance counselor at scheduled times. For clarification, the counselors were assigned to a student alphabetically based off of the last name. Jay and I had last names that start with the same first letter, so we had the same guidance counselor. I left to see mine and she's out that day. Weird, but alright. So I walk back to the classroom and Jay gets up to see the same counselor for her scheduled time. Knowing she was full of poop and was going to use this time to get out of class so she could screw off for a bit, cue my time for petty revenge. I wait for her to get right to the door, about to leave, and say out loud, "Oh no, Jay, you don't need to leave class. The guidance counselor's out today. You can stay in the class." She stares at me hard enough to burn holes in my soul, and so do all the popular jerks that are in the class. She's pissed, walking back to her seat, and I just have the biggest poop-eating grin on my face. Super petty, but worth it. In your opinion, if somebody slammed your finger in a locker, is preventing them from skipping a class enough to make you feel satisfied as a revenge? Or would you want a little bit more? Let me know in the comments down below. Our next story is by Old Nick 999. "I'm not going in my pants, teacher." I'm not sure if it really qualifies as revenge, but here's the story. It's from 1987, a long time ago. I had a 4th grade teacher that clearly had it out for me. Having ADHD in Utah in the 80s won me no friends and only hate from teachers. This one actually encouraged others to bully me as she thought it might make me a better student, which it didn't, but I digress. My 4th grade teacher, let's call her Miss Swamp, pushed her bathroom privileges rule on select students. I was one of them. She made no bones of having her favorites and made them exempt from some rules. So now to the point. One particular day, I needed to use the bathroom. I asked Miss Swamp if I could. She said I haven't earned bathroom privileges and told me to sit down. After waiting longer, I got up again and asked if I could use the restroom. She told me to hold it. I couldn't. My bladder was about to burst. I told her this. She told me that I could just go in my pants. I haven't wet my pants since age 4 and I was not about to start again. I scooted Miss Swamp's trash can from her desk to the corner of the room. I then dropped trow, to the amusement of other students and the disgust of Miss Swamp, and urinated in that trash can. Fortunately, I only had to do number 1. After my bladder was emptied, I scooted the trash can back to her desk and said, "That's what I think of bathroom privileges." So you might think Miss Swamp learned her lesson about denying bathroom usage, but you'd be mistaken. This act got me seated at a desk outside in the hall where problem students were put on display for their adoring public. Remember, this was a time when humiliation was part of the curriculum. I'm sure Miss Swamp is long retired now. While I recognize that it was a bit of a different time back in the 80s, I just have a certain hatred of teachers, any teacher that has some kind of obsession over controlling when kids can and can't go to the bathroom. Honestly, whether kids are abusing it or not, you don't really know. And I think any teacher that allows any kind of a bias to factor into whether or not a kid can go use the restroom, especially when they're asking multiple times and they're saying it's a serious thing, they honestly need to be in a different profession. Because in my books, being around kids doing that is not it. This next story is by Brave Sir Robin 1977. Bob the Builder threatens me with police with no evidence, gets cops called on him instead. My neighbor's having work done, and on Friday my wife heard him on the phone trying to call the cops on us because of the smell of cannabis. Of course, there's no evidence that I've got any cannabis, so today when he came back, I checked his van's registration and license, and lo and behold, no tax or insurance. I took my evidence to the police. I was smoking weed to be fair, but how dare someone being paid to plaster a neighbor's house and with dirty hands themselves make allegations they can't back up? Well, if you do it fast enough, there won't be enough evidence for the police to convict you over. It's kind of big brain, right? But in reality, most people don't like a narc, especially some random person that's going around like, I think I smell cannabis. I'm going to call 911. It's like, really? Over that? Our next story is by ULFR. This isn't about the dog toy, it's about sending a message. I live in the basement floor of my parents' house. My name's on the title. There was a bit of a financial kerfuffle that required my assistance. We have 2 dogs, one bearded collie named Abby who loves my dad, and a cockapoo named Dexter who's my bud. Important note about Abby, she is a toy shredder. The only kind of dog toys that last in my house are made of rubber or are too big for Dexter to get a good grip on. A few months back, Dexter and I attended an agility course, and at the end of that course, Dexter was presented with a bucket full of dog toys and allowed to pick one to take home. He pulled out a purple fuzzy monkey thing that had some skinny ropes coming out. Forgive me if I slip and call it a tug monkey. Now, Dexter loved playing with that toy and always remembered where I put it last, so he knew where he needed to sit and stare. When I got this toy, I showed it to both parents and explained that Abby under no circumstances is allowed near, as she would have shredded it in seconds. They both acknowledged and said they get it. I was always very careful to put it up on a shelf when he was done with the monkey, and it never journeyed upstairs. Last month, I went out for a little while, and when I came back, Dexter was frantic, flung himself at me, and once he was sure I was looking, sat and stared where I'd last left the toy. The shelf was empty. Fearing the worst, I went to check upstairs, and there's Abby destroying one of the tug ropes and covered in purple shreds of fabric. I was livid. When questioned, my mother admitted to giving Dexter the toy, and she just forgot the door between halves of the house was open. Before someone suggests a stay in a nice padded room, this is a pattern of consistent disrespect that's been going on since I moved back and been promised complete autonomy. I put up a whiteboard between the halves of the doors facing out. If I'm going to be in a Zoom meeting with a camera on or on a call, I used to write "in a meeting" on the whiteboard. Sometimes this worked, most times it didn't. Mom would just have a laundry basket and decided the stuff needed doing then and figured my call was surely over. It hasn't been yet. I feel like she's walked in on at least 5 or more calls in the last month where I've been actively speaking and had to mute and cover the camera. I'm only on calls a very small fraction of the day, perhaps an hour or so in total. My bosses commented on distractions and actually had me start speaking less. Did I mention my mother has a tendency to whistle or sing while she's doing chores? Or that one time she derailed an entire meeting because she unleashed a belch so loud it reverberated? This isn't just a quiet blur in the background, it's a real problem. So I load Dexter into my car and we fly to the pet store for an emergency purple monkey replacement. Happily enough, I found the exact same toy. I purchased that and some treats. Crisis averted, right? Wrong. We get back to the house and he zips over to where the murdered toy was, sitting in longing. I take the tags off the replacement and distract him with some treats, put the fake monkey on the shelf, and when Dexter resumed his post, I gave him the duplicate, which he sniffed and then snubbed before crying and staring at the shelf some more. I'm a patient man. The BS threshold I have with my parents is set pretty high, but seeing that, my heart broke. There was an Arthur fist. I vowed revenge. I went to the hardware store and ordered a steel interior door with the same keypad lock we already have for exterior doors and some security door hinges. I then had to return the first door and measure first before ordering the correct size. For the next 3 Sundays, my cousins helped me out with getting everything assembled and adjusted while my parents went to church. The 4th Sunday was spent with a soldering iron, lobotomizing the digital code lock so it rejected every code entered. Yesterday we did the door swap and managed to get everything done and cleaned. When my parents left for church, flimsy particle board door was all that stood between my half and theirs. When they returned, steel door with wood facade, code lock, and tamper-proof hinges. Also wound up changing the code for my exterior door. There was wailing and lamentations and gnashing of teeth. How could you? What about laundry? All this for a dog toy? I calmly explained that the door won't stay closed, but when it's closed, it's staying closed. My name is on the deed of the house now. I can make modifications to my space if I want to. My mother wanted to know what about an emergency. I told her I'd give the code right now to the new door if she could tell me one situation where minutes mattered. There was hemming and hawing and no actual laundry emergency cited. Why did I spend more than $150 on a door lock only to immediately break it? Because it's got a working deadbolt, which is all I need, and my mother spent 3 hours yesterday trying to brute force the code lock. Why did I spend more than $1,000 on a deadbolt and a door that'll sneer at a battering ram? 2 reasons. The first being I was mad and wasn't sure anything less would do the trick, and second is because my sister lurks this subreddit religiously and will likely spread this to the rest of my extended family. Hi everyone. I appreciate that OP went to the extent of disabling the code thing. I'm just imagining OP's mom there like 0000, 0001, 0002. Let me do my laundry, OP. Honestly though, it's a bit far, but I get it because you're just asking for them to not only respect you and your stuff, but also your pet. And very clearly they don't give too much of a care. They would just barge in, forget about situations involving your pet. If they can't help but ignore the respect that you deserve, then I guess you gotta drum up a way to force them to give you that respect. And our final story of the day is by Rachel Harris 0628. Lead me on and be a jerk for a year? 2 can play that game. So a while ago, like years, I was in an open relationship and I met this guy on Tinder. He was super nice at first and we hit it off. It was around Christmas time at that point, so I went over, we made Christmas cookies, watched Into the Spider-Verse, hooked up, and in general, really hit it off. Keep in mind, we'd been talking practically every day for about 2 months prior to actually meeting. After that first time we hung out, he started to become a huge jerk. Anytime he messaged me, it would be sexual in nature. He was ghosting me, leading me on, and blocking and unblocking me consistently. Then he would message me out of the blue and apologize and ask for another chance because he misses me. I forgave him one time, and then after that told him straight up I wasn't interested anymore and that what he did was crappy. Despite this, he kept hitting me up even though I would turn him down every time. I'm a generally nice person, so after a while I played nice but wouldn't let him even try to make a move. Well, randomly one day, he blocks me once again. I didn't even care really and moved on. 2 months later, I got a request from an account I didn't recognize, so I accepted it only to find out that it was the jerk. He told me that he didn't actually block me, but that he just doesn't use that account anymore. This is a lie, I know it because I can still see a story on the old account. I called his bluff and told him to get lost, and his response was, "Sorry for wasting your time." The revenge, cut to tonight, a month and a half since I last heard from him, I get a message again. He asked me if I was busy and said that he misses hanging out. We only ever hung out once and wants to hang out. It's 11:30 p.m. at this point and I'm so pissed that he can't take a hint, so I start crafting a response. I told him that I wasn't busy and that I'd love to come over and pick up where we'd left off. How he fell for it after I told him to buzz off the last year, I have no idea, but he did. I acted as though I was getting ready and on my way. I stalled repeatedly by telling him I was stopping for gas and then saying I had to pull over because I got a phone call. I'm dragging this on, making him wait and letting him get more and more excited. This jerk even took a shower before I got there, just in case. All the while I laid in bed, warm, eating chocolate and watching my plan unfold. I had messaged him that I was 3 minutes away and asked for him to come outside because it's dark and I'm nervous. He told me he would. I sent him a message telling him I was outside, and in response he sent me a video of him standing outside, in the cold and in a towel waiting for me. Now comes the real slap in the face. I sent him a long message basically saying that I wasn't coming, he was stupid to have fallen for it, and that I hope he feels crappy and confused and hurt, just how he made me feel. I told him that I hope he never reproduces because we don't need more jerks in the world, and then I promptly blocked him. My friend, who was on the phone with me the whole time, then sent him a request and he accepted. After small talk, he told my friend that he was bummed because he hit up a bunch of people and everyone flaked on him, meaning I was the last person he hit up that night. The jerk went through all of the trouble getting ready just to be left cold and blue-balled. It's not huge, but I'm riding the biggest high. He was one of the worst people I've ever had the displeasure of meeting and bringing into my life, and I hope this got the message across this time. This guy truly deserves to be single forever. Anyway, jerk, if you're reading this, I hope you froze your balls off waiting for me. I'm thinking whenever this guy pops up, he's not thinking with his brain and lets his downstairs brain control a little too much, get his wishes up a little too high. He's probably very lonely, and he's allowing that to convince him to be like, I should call her again, there might be a chance. But the dude should get the message, cause yikes. But with that being said, that's all the time we have for today. So of all these stories I've read today, which is your favorite and why? Let me know in the comments down below. And if you haven't yet, if you could like and subscribe, that would mean a lot to me. Whatever you do, whether it's liking, subscribing, turning notifications on, all of it helps grow this channel, and I appreciate the heck out of it. So until next time, I'll see you all tomorrow with some more stories.